everyone, it's Priya here and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be painting some flowers that are growing in a pot plant in my garden, and I wanted to explain to you a little bit about using reference photos. I'm using a reference that I actually took of the flowers myself, but I want to just explain to you certain things that you can do when using reference photos or using a live reference from real life, and what you can do to make your painting or drawing really look interesting and not look too busy as well. So starting off, I went in ahead and I started with a graphite sketch. This is a regular graphite pencil HB, and I'm just sketching in all the different elements that I want to include. Now if you saw my reference photo, that reference was from the top down view, and the reason why I took a photo from the top down view is I wanted a good view of all the flowers. I wanted to see the different patterns and designs and colors of the petals, and that was my focal point, which were the flowers. If I had taken a photo from the front of the pot, I would have not been able to see the center flower very well because there are a lot of leaves in this pot, and it would have covered a lot of the flowers because the flowers are visually visible from the top, but from the side you'll only see a side view of the flowers, which is not going to be as interesting, and I'm not going to be able to depict a lot of the details and the colors that are on the petals if the flowers are angled from the side. So I basically changed the reference from what I was seeing to something that really works well for my composition that I wanted to interpret the focal point for the flowers. So I decided to leave out a lot of the leaves, as well as I decided to put the flowers one beside the other, but where they are more visually, where you can see them better visually. And I'm not having them at a side angle because I want you to see the flowers. That's my idea of having the focal point being the flowers and the patterns and designs on the petals and the different colors on the petals. That was my focal point. So I decided to change the reference and change it to what suited me and what I wanted my final painting to look like. So always remember, when using any reference, whether it's a reference photo or real reference from real life that you are drawing, you don't have to include everything. You can change it how you feel is suitable for you and what makes sense for your drawing or painting. And also you can choose what to leave out and what to include. You don't have to include everything. If I included every single leaf that was in that reference, I would have a very busy piece, and my viewers' eyes will be going all over the place, and it'll become too confusing and just too busy. So I wanted it to be a simple piece and just have the focal point very clearly visible, and that's what I did here by just including the 3 flowers, 1 flower bud, and just some of the leaves from the flowers, but not all of them. So once I was done with the graphite sketch, I went in with a fine liner. This is 0.3 black fine liner, and I basically outlined all the flowers, the leaves, as well as the pot itself. And then I'm going to go in with a kneaded eraser and erase all the graphite lines before I start painting in with watercolors. Now it's important to remember that you can use the pen to create a bit of the shadow areas, and you can add a little bit of the patterns or some textures. You can use it for that as well, and even some shadow areas if you'd like. So it's always nice to use the ink, and then when you go in with watercolors, you can enhance those areas by adding more darker watercolors over the shadow areas, for example. So I went in with a gray. Now if you would have seen the pot, you can't see much of the pot from the top down view, but it's a really old pot, and it may have been black at some point in time, or it may have been a very dark gray. So I wanted to keep it at the moment the way it looks, like a worn gray pot, and I wanted to keep it that way, so, or keep it with that look. So I had the layering of the watercolors. I let it look a bit more of the painterly watercolor style, as well as looking a bit patchy and blotchy, because the pot looks like that because it is gone old and it's been in the sun and the colors worn out of it. And I wanted to basically bring that to my painting that I was doing. So looking at the reference photo and looking at the painting that I've come up with, I really left a lot of the elements out, which is perfectly fine. If you would like to include everything, you can, but sometimes it can make your painting look a bit too busy, and you're going to lose the interest of the viewer, or you're not going to draw the viewer's eye to your focal point. Now in this one, my focal point, like I said, is the flowers, so I wanted to bring the viewer's eyes to my flowers that I have that I've drawn. Now if you look at the flower, you will see that I've got a lot of different variants in colors for the flowers, and I wanted to bring that up into my drawing as well. With the oranges and the yellows and the black, I wanted to bring all of that into it. So I started off with a light yellow, and then I went with the darker yellow and I brightened it up a bit over the lighter yellow. Now also the leaves, I've added some shadow areas to the right side of the leaves because the sun is coming from the left side of the pot. So all the shadows will fall to the right side, which will be the right side of the leaves as well as the right side of the pot. So always bear that in mind if you are painting from where your light source is coming, because obviously if it's coming from the left, then the shadows will be on the right, and the opposite would apply if this light source is coming from the right. But then also you can get light sources coming from above, from below. It depends on your reference, but always pay attention to where your light source is coming from and the direction it's coming from and how it's hitting your object that you are painting or drawing. Now with the flowers, after I painted in those yellow areas, I'm just going in and adding the soil. I'm adding a darker color brown to the soil. I'm leaving it or making it look a bit blotchy and textured because soil doesn't look even and smooth. So I'm leaving it to have that textured look. As well as the pot, I'm just going in with another layer of a gray just to basically have it look a bit darker, and I'm retaining certain lighter areas as well when I'm working or painting the pot. Now going back to the flowers, I'm just adding those orange stripes that each petal have, and that was the one unique thing that I liked about this flower that made me want to paint it, is to show the petals and those interesting orange stripes that are on each of the yellow petals. I think that really makes this flower look different from being just a regular yellow flower. Now the leaves, after I did the light base layer and I added the shadow areas to the right of the leaves, I just added some yellow over the entire leaf just to brighten it up and make it look a bit more saturated because it was looking a little bit dull. So by adding that yellow, I'm really brightening it up and tying it in with the yellow flowers as well. Now after I was done with that, I painted the centers of the flowers, as well as now I'm painting in a mixture of black and as well as some dark brown, just to create those black areas or darker areas on the centers of the flowers, because that is also a very prominent element in the painting or in the reference, which I wanted to incorporate those black center parts of the flower, of the petals, or at the bottom of the petals they all are black. I want to incorporate that too. Now I'm also using a bit of color pencils just to add a bit of texture. It's nice to use color pencils after you've worked with gouache as well as watercolors. After you've painted with those, just to add a bit more texture and make it a bit more vibrant. By adding color pencil, you can really get that saturated, vibrant look for your colors and really bring your piece to life. And I think it's a good idea to use color pencils, whether using gouache or watercolors. It's really helps to make it look, bring more texture, to add more brightness and color and saturation to your final piece. Also, you can see I'm using some of the black as well, very lightly, but I'm using it to add some shadow areas for the pot. And then I'm just adding a watercolor wash for the shadow of the pot. And I'm also just going to create a bit of a brown ground so that the pot is basically sitting on a surface and not floating in midair. So I guess that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. If you have, don't forget to like and share. It really helps the channel out. Also, if you can leave your comments down below. And if you want to see more content like this or other art videos that I have, or when I'm going to put it up to be notified, then consider subscribing. Till the next one. Bye.